And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. Welcome to Benchley Night. Welcome to Benchley Night. I know I'm what am I? A minute late. That's not bad. It's because the clock in the kitchen is off by a minute. So I was hurrying to get some dinner made. It's going to be a good dinner. Going to be a good dinner. The bounty of the season. First off, though, before we get into tonight's reading, and that ties in with the bounty of the season, of course. Before we get into tonight's reading, let's take a minute to ponder Mr. Jan Wenner. Mr. Jan Wenner, it turns out, is a real dick. I guess he always was. It just I don't know the man. And since he does like hanging out with white men, as it turns out, but only very, very famous white men. So I guess I don't quite qualify, though I qualify some. But as most of you are probably aware at this point, he said that women that his latest book called The Masters is women were the women rock and rollers were insufficiently articulate to discuss the the weighty topic of rock and roll. If I was coming up with a list of things you really needed to be articulate about, rock and roll wouldn't really be at the top of the list. But what do I know? I'm not hanging out with Jan enough. He also made he said that people of color were inarticulate as well, but it was ugly, ladies and gentlemen. It was ugly. And the thing that struck me about it is that this apparently really is how Jan Wenner feels about women, that they're insufficiently articulate. And Black people, insufficiently articulate to talk about rock and roll. And the number, and I put a quote from that interview on my Facebook page, and the number of women who were in the music business who said, yes, that is people really do feel that, there are men who feel women are stupider than they are. And it's invisible. It's invisible to someone like me. It's not in my world. And it reminded me of the best lesson I ever got out of doing the Roots on the Rails music trains. And I don't remember at this point if I was in the room or if Sarah told me about this later, but we have a crew member who is a person of color. And we were in Chicago, and Sarah had gotten out of her street clothes and we were having a debriefing, and there was something she needed to get, at a corner drugstore, like at a Walgreens. Say it was a packet of 50 envelopes. And she said, and she said to our crew member, can you just run and go get those? I mean, that's appropriate because she's the general manager and this person is kind of a floater in the crew. And he said, he said, I don't have my wallet with me. She said, oh, don't worry about that. I'll just give you the money and, just give me the receipt. And he said, no, you don't understand. I'm a Black guy in a city that is not my city, and I can't go out. I can't go out on the street without ID. You can't do that. That had never crossed my mind. It's not that I was thinking anything racist. I was just oblivious. And that's what white privilege is. That's what privilege is. And that's what seeing the mask pulled off of Jan Wenner, it's eye-opening. And if that means being woke, I'll take being woke, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take being woke. All right, enough pontificating by me. We have a bunch of people to thank tonight because tonight we are honoring Tiger. Tiger was the beloved dog of Harlow Farm Stand. Danny at Harlow Farm Stand. Tiger was slow moving, gentle eyed, always on the lookout for bacon and scratches. And he crossed over to the great farm stand in the sky this weekend. And I wanted to honor Tiger because we all loved Tiger. And so I checked with the Harlow folks to see if it was all right to do a little fundraiser for the Windham County Humane Society in Tiger's honor. And I'm pleased to say that you all have been wonderful. We have raised over $500 for the Humane Society, and that's a wonderful thing. But let's take a moment to honor Tiger. And the unidentified unglet has a bunch of people to thank. Now, the faceplant fundraisers seem wonky to me right now. So if I left your name off, I did not mean to. I'm going to read a couple of people's names who I think donated but may not have. And if the worst that happens is they get thanked for donating and they didn't, well, that's not a bad thing. Anyway, joining together in honoring the wonderful life of Tiger are our good friends Rick Gabotsky, Wendy Odette, Susan Hammond. That again, this unglet is a mind of its own. Let's do that again. Susan Hammond. Joanne Manji, a wonderful painter friend, one of the best pet portrait painters of our time, Joanne Manji. Mr. Bill Stevens, who penned a very loving farewell to Tiger today. Mr. Bill Stevens. That's better. Ms. Tori Mitchell. Ms. Sarah Ovenden. My brother, Mr. Will Hunter. The great Carol Fulkerson out there in Missouri. John Wilhelm out there in Omaha. Gary Pierce and Eileen Cortez warding off the bears down there in Bonneville. Ms. Terry Hudson off on another trip in Bon France right now. In Bon France, Ms. Terry Hudson. The great Catherine Fisher. Our friend Pat Fowler of Village Square Booksellers. Pat and Alan go down and have Sunday breakfast down at Cafe Loco almost every week. And Tiger is usually there to greet them and help them with any extra bacon they might need to get rid of. Pat and Alan Fowler. My good friend, Ms. Martha Rowley. The great watercolorist, Ian Stewart. Laurie LaRue. Tiger was dear to Laurie LaRue, not quite as dear to Laurie LaRue as Speckles was. Another fine canine. We honor Speckles. We honor Tiger. Laurie LaRue. Elizabeth Harlow. Barbara Brady. My friend in Railroadiana, Mr. Jim Frisk. Lily Lauren, painter friend who lost her beloved dog Lincoln. This weekend. Here's to Lincoln, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, out there in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So he may be on vacation right now, but he's normally around Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And my beloved, the great Betty Sue, is on her way here right now. She's driving right now here to Bellows Falls, so I will see her for a day and a half. And then she goes up to Canada with James McMurtry and then comes back down to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where my very, 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 very tall cousin is waiting with boxes and boxes of James McMurtry and Betty Sue merchandise. My very, very tall cousin, Mr. Nat Hunter, his wonderful wife Elise, and their little dog, Ginger. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. Tiger is wagging his tail up there in heaven, looking down, checking to see if anyone has any bacon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and in honor of Tiger, James Thurber's Snapshot of a Dog. Let's raise a glass to Tiger. Oh, Tiger was your kind of dog, Lori Putnam. Tiger was your kind of dog. He's a good dog. Everyone should listen to Fred Eaglesmith's song, He's a Good Dog, by the way. Good song for a good dog. I ran across a dim photograph of him the other day, going through some old things. He's been dead now 25 years. His name was Rex. My two brothers and I named him when we were in our early teens. And he was a bull terrier, an American bull terrier, we used to say proudly, none of your English bull terriers. He had one brindle eye that sometimes made him look like a clown and sometimes reminded you of a politician with a derby hat and a cigar. The rest of him was white except for a brindle saddle that always seemed to be slipping off and a brindle stocking on a hind leg. Nevertheless, there was nobility about him. He was big and muscular and beautifully made. He never lost his dignity, even when trying to accomplish the extravagant tasks my brothers and myself used to set for him. One of these was the bringing of a 10-foot wooden rail into the yard through the back gate. We would throw it out into the alley and tell him to go get it. Rex was as powerful as a wrestler, and there were not many things he could not manage somehow to get hold of with his great jaws and lift or drag to wherever he wanted to put them or wherever we wanted them put. He could catch that rail at the balance and lift it clear off the ground and trot with great confidence toward the gate. Of course, since the gate was only 4 feet wide or so, he could not bring the rail in broadside. He found that out when he got a few terrific jolts, but he would not give up. He finally figured out how to do it by dragging the rail, holding on to one end, growling. He got a great wagging satisfaction out of his work. We used to bet kids who had never seen Rex in action that he could catch a baseball thrown as high as they could throw it. He almost never let us down. Rex could hold a baseball with ease in his mouth, in one cheek, as if it was a chaw of tobacco. He was a tremendous fighter, but he never started fights. I don't believe he liked to get into them, despite the fact that he came from a line of fighters. He never went for another dog's throat, but for one of its ears. That teaches a dog a lesson. And he would get his grip, close his eyes, and hold on. He could hold on for hours. His longest fight lasted from dusk until almost pitch dark one Sunday. It was fought in East Main Street in Columbus, Ohio, with a large, snarly nondescript that belonged to a big, ill-humored man. When Rex finally got his ear grip, that brief whirlwind of snarling turned to screeching. It was frightening to listen to and to watch. The other dog's owner boldly picked the dogs up somehow and began swinging them around his head, finally let them fly like a hammer in a hammer throw. But although they landed 10 feet away with a great plump, Rex still held on. The two dogs eventually worked their way to the middle of the car tracks, And after a while, 2 or 3 streetcars were held up by the fight. A motorman tried to pry Rex's jaws open with a switch rod. Somebody lighted a fire and made a torch of a stick and held that to Rex's tail, but he paid no attention. In the end, all the residents and storekeepers in the neighborhood were on hand, shouting this, suggesting that. Rex's joy of battle, when battle was joined, was almost tranquil. He had a kind of pleasant expression during fights, not a vicious one. His eyes closed in what would have seemed to be sleep had it not been for the turmoil of the struggle. The Oak Street Fire Department finally had to be sent for. I don't know why nobody thought of that sooner. 5 or 6 pieces of apparatus arrived, followed by a battalion chief. A hose was attached, and a powerful stream of water was turned on the dogs. Rex held on for several moments more, while the torrent buffeted him about like a log in a freshet. He was 100 yards away from where the fight started when he finally let go. The story of that Homeric fight got all around town, and some of our relatives looked upon the incident as a blot on the family name. They insisted that we get rid of Rex, but we were very happy with him, and nobody could have made us give him up. We would have left town with him first, along any road there was to go. It would have been different, perhaps, if he'd ever started fights or looked for trouble, but he had a gentle disposition. He never bit a person in the 10 strenuous years that he lived, nor ever growled at anyone except prowlers. He did kill cats, that's true. Don't listen to this, Charbonneau. Do listen to this. Be careful of dogs, Charbonneau. He did kill cats, true, but quickly and neatly and without a special malice, the way men kill certain animals. It was the only thing he did that we could never cure him of doing. He never killed or even chased a squirrel. I don't know why. He had his own philosophy about such things. He never ran barking after wagons or automobiles. He didn't seem to see the idea in pursuing something that you couldn't catch or something you couldn't do anything with, even if you did catch it. A wagon was one of the things he could not tug along with his mighty jaws, and he knew it. Wagons, therefore, were not a part of his world. Swimming was his favorite recreation. The first time he ever saw a body of water, Alum Creek, he trotted nervously along the steep bank for a while, fell to barking wildly, and finally plunged in from a height of 8 feet or more. I shall always remember that shining virgin dive. Then he swam upstream and back just for the pleasure of it, like a human. It was fun to see him battle upstream against the stiff current, struggling and growling every foot of the way. He had as much fun in the water as any person I have known. You didn't have to throw a stick in the water to get him to go in. Of course, he'd bring back a stick if you did throw one in. He would have even brought back a piano if you'd thrown one in. That reminds me of the night, way after midnight, when he went a-roving in the light of the moon and brought back a small chest of drawers that he found somewhere. How far from the house, nobody ever knew. Since it was Rex, it could easily have been half a mile. There were no drawers in the chest when he got it home, and it was not a good one. He hadn't taken it out of anybody's house. It was just an old cheap piece that somebody had abandoned on a trash heap. Still, it was something he wanted, probably because it presented a nice problem in transportation. It tested his mettle. We first knew about his achievement when deep in the night we heard him trying to get the chest up onto the porch. It sounded as if 2 or 3 people were trying to tear the house down. We came downstairs and turned on the porch light. Rex was on the top step trying to pull the thing up. Hi, Charbonneau. Trying to pull the thing up, but it had caught somehow, and he was just holding his own. I suppose he would have held his own till dawn if we hadn't helped him. The next day, we carted the chest miles away and threw it out. If we had thrown it out in a nearby alley, he would have brought it home again as a small token of his integrity in such matters. After all, he had been taught to carry heavy wooden objects about, and he was proud of his prowess. I'm glad. Hi, Sharbs. Hi. I'm glad Rex never saw a trained police dog jump. He was just an amateur jumper himself, but the most daring and tenacious that I have ever seen. He would take on any fence we pointed out to him. 6 feet was easy for him, and he could do 8 by making a tremendous leap and hauling himself over, finally by his paws, grunting and straining. But he lived and died without knowing that 12 and 16-foot walls were too much for him. Frequently, after letting him try to go over one for a while, would have to carry him home. He would never have given up trying. There was in his world no such thing as the impossible. Even death couldn't beat him down. He died, it is true, but only, as one of his admirers said, after straight-arming the death angel for more than an hour. Late one afternoon, he wandered home, too slowly and too uncertainly to be the Rex that had trotted briskly homeward up our avenue for 10 years. I think we all knew when he came through the gate that he was dying. He had apparently taken a terrible beating, probably from the owner of some dog that he'd gotten into a fight with. His head and body were scarred. His heavy collar with the teeth marks of many a battle on it was awry. Some of the big brass studs in it were sprung loose from the leather. He licked at our hands and, staggering, fell, but he got up again. We could see that he was looking for someone. One of his 3 masters was not home. He did not get home for an hour. During that hour, the bull terrier fought against death as he had fought against the cold, strong current of Alum Creek, as he had fought to climb 12-foot walls. When the person he was waiting for did come through the gate, whistling, then ceasing to whistle, Rex walked a few wobbly paces toward him, touched his hand with his muzzle, and fell down again. This time, he didn't get up. All right. That's a tearjerker, ladies and gentlemen, except he killed cats. Killed cats, Charbo. So be careful. Be careful out there. All of you, be careful out there. All of you, don't be Jan Winter. All of you, we'll see in a couple of weeks. I'll be off at plein air smoggies. I'll be off plein air painting down near Knoxville for the next 10 days or so, starting this weekend. So no Benchley Night next week or the week after, but then we'll be back again. We'll be back again. You take good care, ladies and gentlemen. Love your animals. Honor Tiger. Honor Speckles. Honor Lincoln. We'll see you sometime very soon. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in.